What's up, guys? My name is Colin Moriarty. I'm editor of IGN PlayStation. Once again, I'm here with Andrew Goldfarb. He is our news editor here at IGN, and we're celebrating Mega Man's 25th anniversary because Capcom didn't really want to, Goldfarb.
They did not. And this is the one I've been most excited about. You call this, many times on the record, you have called this the best game of all time.
It is. Mega Man 3 is the best game of all time. It's my favorite game of all time. It's a lot of fun. Here we see the stage select screen, and we're going to go to Snake Man first. Now, we could do this in many different ways. I don't always go to Snake Man first. Often I go to Magnet Man first, and that's a good place to jump in the order. But we're going to jump in with Snake Man here just to change things up a little bit.
Sure.
He's easy enough to beat with the Mega Buster. Now, Goldfarb, what I really like about Mega Man 3, and why I think Mega Man 3 is really special, is because it begins to tell a story, and it's a subtle story, and it's a sad story. As you notice, there's no intro sequence like there was in Mega Man 2 to Mega Man 3. It just jumps right in, and it's kind of a mystery at first what you're doing, and I like it. And as much as an 8-bit game can tell a real compelling story, I actually think Mega Man 2, or Mega Man 3 rather, does tell a really compelling story. It's the first time we'll see Proto Man, it's the first time we'll see Rush, and things of this nature. So anyway, here we are on Snake Man stage.
Very much themed like a snake.
Yes, it's
built out of a big snake.
It's a big snake stage. I don't really know like what he's doing here, what's going on here, but you know, Snake Man stage is one of the easiest stages in the game, which makes it a good place to start. And Snake Man himself is easy formulaic robot master to beat.
And more importantly, you've got the slide.
Yep.
The slide finally makes its first appearance here.
That's very true. As you can see, I just got made into a chump by that robot. That was actually bad play on my part. But yeah, the slide mechanic makes its debut in Mega Man 3, which is awesome. And I'll use it all the time, even when you don't have to, just to get around. You get around really quickly with it.
It really does change the game, too. Like, it changes not only your movement, but it changes the stage design because it forces you to use it in some situations.
Indeed. I think the robot masters are kind of programmed to make you use the slide. There are certainly parts where you have to use the slide to get through. There's another new addition, which is the question mark kind of E-tank looking thing, where if you shoot it, it'll give you a random item. Sometimes a weapon capsule, sometimes an energy capsule, and sometimes an E-tank or an extra life.
If you're really lucky.
Mm-hmm. So, Goldfarb, the story of Mega Man 3 is as such. In Mega Man 1, Wily and Light create a series of 8 robots. Mega Man, Roll, and the 6 Robot Masters, and Wily reprograms them for his own purposes, tries to take over the world. Mega Man stops that. Mega Man 2, he creates his set of his own 8 robots, basically, that he uses to try to take over the world again, and his plot is foiled. In Mega Man 3, Wily and Light have a truce with each other, and Wily has considered himself, I guess, reformed, and Light and Wily together are creating a peacekeeping robot called the Gamma. Gamma requires all these different minerals and elements to be created, and so Wily and Light dispatch these robot masters, the 8 robot masters, here to go get them, but they're quickly corrupted. And you'll find out that Wily is obviously behind everything. And Proto Man, who is the prototype robot that was created before Mega Man, obviously makes his appearance here, and you're going to see him many times in the game. So we're moving. We're almost to the end of Snake Man stage now. This part's a little precarious. What I like about this stage a lot is how it changes.
It's so different already than it was before.
This is kind of like Airman stage a little bit in Mega Man 2. These torpedo enemies are a pain because they're hidden by, they're actually very clever. Hidden by clouds. They're kind of just floating. You shoot them, and then they quickly shoot at you, so you have to be ready. So here's Snake Man. Great design, first of all.
For sure.
Now, Snake Man uses a weapon called Search Snakes. There they are. You can shoot them with the plasma cannon if you are able to, but you can just ignore them as well. As you can see, he just runs back and forth, basically. The Search Snakes go up walls, so they're basically not a problem for you once they shoot over you.
Interesting that little thing in the middle doesn't block your shots. You can shoot right through it.
Yep, you can shoot through any walls in Mega Man, so this isn't really any different. Well, it's funny that his stage is created much in the same vein as, say, Flashman's little lair or whatever, where like it's designed around the way he acts and he jumps. So that's kind of cool. Snake Man's already dispatched, though. That's 1 of 8.
It's pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to get his power of the Search Snake. Now, unlike Mega Man 2, we don't have the super lengthy, middling series of him getting his weapon. He can't skip it or whatever. It's very quick.
Yeah, no like Dr. Light popping up and telling you about the new item.
Mm-hmm. And so we're back at the stage select screen again. And from here, we go to Gemini Man. Gemini Man is an amazing design, too, and I really like the idea of Gemini Man of there being a twin robot, where you fight 2 of them at the same time. As you'll see, a little bit of a spoiler in case you never played it before. And this
Another really cool stage.
Yeah, the stage is cool. Little penguin enemies. So how is this striking you as different so far from Mega Man 1 or 2? What are you seeing? What's as the kind of the guy who doesn't really know much about Mega Man 3?
I mean, I think they're definitely they seem to be changing it up a little bit more in terms of the actual stage design itself. I mean, I think Mega Man 1, obviously you had these very static backgrounds. You had these stages that were largely the same throughout, and then Mega Man 2, you had stages that were kind of that same design philosophy, but they were a little more dynamic in the background, kind of more movement and stuff going on. Whereas these stages seem to just be totally different from one another. Like from one to the next, it's not just like a palette swap or anything like that. Like these are totally fundamentally different, which I find interesting.
What I really like about these stages too, and you'll see it when you see the rest of the stages, is that they all have a lot of unique enemies on them that aren't necessarily used on other stages, that are kind of themed for their stage, and I think that's kind of cool. By the way, here's Proto Man's very first appearance. He just appears. Mega Man doesn't know who he is. He destroys this thing so he can get into the layer and then disappears again. You don't engage with him any more than that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a cool intro for a character. Because like if you played the first few games, you'd be like, wait, what? What was that?
It's just what I love about it is just how amazing. Like this is the way you had to tell stories back then. There was no voice acting and cutscenes and all these things. Like there's heart and emotion in this story. I think that goes underappreciated in the Mega Man series, which is why I think Mega Man 3 is so special.
I mean, so many people consider Mega Man 2 the best, and I think, not a minority. I mean, plenty of people think Mega Man 3 is amazing also, but I think you're in the minority in thinking it's better than Mega Man 2. Why is that? What do you think it does better?
Well, I think Mega Man 3... Well, I'll say this about Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is the most important Mega Man game. That's the game that got a lot of people in the door. It's the game that they remember very fondly. It's a game that's accessible. All those things. But Mega Man 3 does everything Mega Man 2 does better than Mega Man 2, and that's why I think it's important. Obviously, the story we've already discussed en masse, but it's the longest Mega Man game. I think it's one of the most difficult Mega Man games. I think that, as you'll see, there's a major ode to Mega Man 2 in this game that will appeal to Mega Man 2 fans. And, I just think that it's a thoughtful game. I think that, I know that this is one of Inafune's least favorite games, which has always intrigued me. That he's not, like, super pleased with the way Mega Man 3 came out, and I think they wanted to do more and stuff like that, but... I think it's a great game with great Robot Master designs, great stages, like you said, varied stages. I think it's a special game.
The stages, again, there's Rush making his first appearance, or second appearance now, I guess. But this stage, again, like, this stage is so different than it was where you started out, where it was just the stars in the background and the little, like, ice flows or whatever you were jumping on. And it's fascinating to me because, like, in Mega Man 2, you might have seen a stage moving like this, but it would have been totally separate than the one at the beginning. Like, within each level, these change so much, which I find fascinating.
Definitely. I love that, too. I don't know. I mean, this stage has a little, this stage is kind of reminiscent a little bit of Flashman stage with the glowing, blocks making up the foundation of the stage and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I really enjoy this game. I just think this game's so special and woefully underappreciated as far as Mega Man games go. But I understand why people like Mega Man 2.
Well, because Mega Man 2 is, like you were saying, obviously amazing, and obviously the precursor for so many staples of the Mega Man series, But this is kind of like adding Rush, adding the slide, makes this really feel, as someone who's kind of seen later Mega Man games, played like 9 and 10, and is now kind of going backwards, it seems fascinating to me that, like, this is where all of those mechanics finally came into play.
Definitely. So here's Gemini Man. He splits into two. I don't fight him very well in this playthrough, which is unfortunate. But you really want to focus on one of them, and that gets rid of him. Changes his playstyle completely. As long as you keep fighting them as a pair, they'll keep jumping around. But once you kill one, then Gemini Man starts using Gemini Laser. But we didn't even let him use that weapon, Goldfarb. Instead, we'll just take it from him.
A good choice.
The Gemini Laser is a cumbersome weapon, as you'll see, but a useful one nonetheless in certain circumstances.
I mean, you talk a lot about how, ice will affect fire and so on and so forth. Like, they do these elemental things. Why do you think Gemini Man is weak to the snakes?
I don't know. I mean, as we discussed in the Mega Man 2 commentary, which you can find on IGN or YouTube, there's less sense made as the games go on in terms of who's weak to what and why. I think there's a few things in this game that make sense. Magnet Man's weapon being strong against Hard Man, for instance. But not many things, because we're getting away from, like, the elements, and we're getting more into, like, kind of... just different kinds of Robot Masters as the ideas get a little looser, I think.
It's cool seeing, like, the cityscape in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah, Needleman stage is cool. Now, under the other way of playing is you start with Magnet Man, which I would usually do. I think 75% of the time I start with Magnet Man as opposed to Snake Man.
You said you used to dress up as Magnet Man as a kid.
Indeed, I used to dress up as Magnet Man when I was a kid. He's my favorite Robot Master. We had this play school magnet that was part of some play set, some educational play set. It was big. Maybe a foot long. Wow. And I used to take it and rubber band it to my head when I was a kid upside down, so that I would look like Magnet Man and then run around the house like an idiot.
Again, interesting how the stage, forces you into the slide. You have these tiny little areas to get through. And still some flicker.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The slowdown is, I think, more prominent, actually, in Mega Man 3. The flicker, not so much. But again, the flicker is a way that you see slowdown right there. The flicker, we have to remember, is a device in which it's designed not as a bad design. It's actually a good design choice. It's doing it so that the game runs with so many things going on the screen. So it's actually a very clever way around the NES's limitations, which I don't think a lot of people realize. So we get another E-Tank there.
It's interesting how much more is going on in each of those games, in each of these games rather. Like in the first game, each screen will have a few enemies moving, but in this one, like obviously by now, backgrounds are moving and characters are moving, and it's just fascinating how many things are going on.
Yeah, I think the stage designs are all. I just love watching the game evolve. Like the series evolves, and like this is such a markedly different game than the original Mega Man. So we're already at Needleman's stage now. Needleman can be difficult because Gemini Laser's hard to use. If you miss with him, it bounces off the walls, and you can't even press start or use it again until it stops. So you see here.
Oh,
he jumps into
lucky,
it, which is
yeah,
very lucky. Otherwise, it just would have kept bouncing for a while, and then I would have eventually gone off screen. So Needleman's defeated. And Needleman gives us the most conventional weapon, the needle cannon, which is basically the arm cannon, but with needles. But useful in many ways in this game. And you discussed Rush before. Again, this is Rush's first game. The items 1, 2, and 3 in Mega Man 2 were kind of the precursor to Rush being a character in the game Mega Man's Dog, and I think he's an amazing character.
So there's no like a canon backstory for Rush, really, is there? Like they never get into it?
I don't think so. There probably is, but I'm not familiar with it.
And here's your favorite Magnet Man.
Yeah, Magnet Man. I adore Magnet Man, and this stage is cool. I like how these magnets will affect you, as you can see. If you don't kill them, they'll kind of suck you up. Watch.
Oh well.
And towards the end here, right here, I believe. Yeah, right after this one, you can actually use him to make a jump, kind of elegantly. Watch.
It's so cool how this game does that, how it affects your jumping. Like we've talked a lot about being underwater changes things. I mean, I love every time Proto Man appears, you hear like this cool whistling intro, this cool like kind of theme song for him. Yeah, so here Proto Man appears and you fight him. And this won't be the last time you fight him. He's still known as Break Man, by the way, in this part of the game. You don't know he's Proto Man until at the end of the game, technically. You don't know like his role as Proto Man anyway. You know him only as Break Man. So we're fighting, we're going. We're in some sort of factory. This is a pretty short stage, actually, a pretty easy stage. And this was pointed out to me on another website. I always saw these logos, weren't really sure what they were, but you see the RW logos there on those like canisters above. That's Light's and Wily's logos put together because they're working together again. And Dr. Light is known as Dr. Wright, at least early on in Mega Man lore in Japan. Interesting.
So here's some of the infamous block puzzles that, again, give people fits. You remember them from Iceman stage and Electman stage in Mega Man 1 and prominently in Heatman stage in Mega Man 2, and here they are again.
Based on your timing, I can tell you know Mega Man 3 even better than the other two.
Yeah, it's just muscle memory at this point.
I mean, you say this is a shorter stage. This seems to be about the length of a Mega Man 1, Mega Man 2 stage. It seems short for Mega Man 3, but that kind of shows how long Mega Man 3 is by comparison.
Indeed. Yeah, Mega Man 3 is a lengthier game. So here we have Magnet Man. He's easy to beat with the Mega Buster, but we'll do it here because we don't have his weakness yet, which is the Spark Shock. We haven't fought Sparkman yet. But we will use Spark Shock on him in Wily's Castle to make quick work of him. But as you can see, he's not very difficult. This isn't the only attack he does, but...
Can he only pull you in with that magnet? Or does he hasn't reverse polarity to push you away?
No, he wants you to... The magnet missiles that he shoots do a certain amount of damage, but running into him does a lot more damage, so he wants you to run into him. So that's the end of Magnet Man, and we get the Magnet Missiles, Goldfarb, for defeating him. Now, the Magnet Missiles are homing weapons depending on the enemies you use them against, which makes them quite useful. So you're not just shooting something that actually find its way to the enemy.
It's funny how each of these powers evolves, That's a kind of a really interesting application for these games.
Yeah, the weapons get more ingenious. I think that you'll start to see archetypical weapons such as the shield weapon appear in, Woodman has it in Mega Man 2, Skullman has it in Mega Man 4, Starman has it in Mega Man 5, Plantman has it in Mega Man 6. Like, there starts to be very typical weapons. But I think Mega Man 3 in its own way has its own unique weapons, including the top spin we'll get from Top Man in a little while. Now, here's an interesting glitch, by the way. If you move off the screen when these guys are dropping their Bs, usually there'll be 5 Bs dropped. But if you move off screen and then go back in, they'll just disappear, and you don't have to deal with them at all.
Wow, that's an easy way to deal with that.
Because those guys are a pain.
It's interesting just watching you in these first 3 playthroughs. You really tend to just stay with the Mega Buster. I mean, you use the powers from the Robot Masters when appropriate, but it doesn't seem like you will go through a stage with one of those very often.
No, I mean in Mega Man 2 we use the Metal Blade, wantonly, especially in Wily's Castle. But I just feel like I think the game's most fun like this. I don't like to go around, and frankly, I'm not super familiar with minor enemy by minor enemy what they're weak to. I just don't feel like it's even necessary.
Yeah. And plus, it is a limited resource, so I guess you want to conserve as much as possible for the Robot Masters.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could, here we're going to use the magnet missile. So, if we were to use, say, the needle cannon here, it doesn't really matter because we're not going to use it again, and then it'll get filled up when we go to the next stage. But I don't know. You don't really need it. I mess around with this. Oh, I guess I don't do it on this playthrough. I played the game a few times to see. You can get him to kill himself by jumping down on the pit on the right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we've talked about how people do, Mega Buster only runs, and it's kind of cool that you even have that ability, It doesn't really force you to, that's what's so cool about the Mega Man games. They're so flexible. You can play them kind of however you want to.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of fun. I mean, I think there's no way the game's really meant to be played. I guess it's meant to be played with figuring out the weapons, weaknesses, and stuff. Here you can see that I kind of mess up the B thing a little bit because I get hit by the guys here while the little things coming up from the ground when I try to get rid of them, but still, the Bs go away. This is a tougher fight with Proto Man. He does the same thing, but because of the unevenness of the ground, it's hard to avoid him. Or harder. You can slide under him if you time it right.
It's like you're doing a synchronized dance a little bit there.
Some health. We're almost to Hard Man stage. We'll drop down here. Fight one of these enemies, these massive enemies, only impervious when their eyes are showing. And then we'll go into Hard Man stage. We'll equip the magnet missile. So Hardman does an extraordinary amount of damage. He shoots something called Hard Knuckles, which you can be avoided, but if he runs into you when he jumps into the air, it does a lot of damage. As you can see there.
Wow, yeah.
So you want to avoid him at all costs. I got lucky there. That wasn't a very good playthrough for me on Hardman. But when I was a young kid, when I first got this game, I used to fight Hardman first. And dare I say I was better at Mega Man 3 when I was a kid than I am now.
Well, I'm sure you were spending more time with it per day.
I'm sure I was.
Now you've got your Ni no Kuni and Rainbow Moon. Got your time and other things. No trophies as a kid to worry about.
Nope.
So we're getting there. That's what, the 2 left? 3 left?
3 left. So we'll go to Top Man now. Top Man's an interesting design. I'm not crazy about it. Probably my least favorite Robot Master in the game. Formulaic enemy. Interesting stage, though.
I like that some of the enemies on this stage also have tops. I think that fits in.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, what that design's all about, really. But
well, that's like, the first time I watched you play this a couple of weeks ago, we were saying that it's like that robot in this game who spins a top that you'll see in a minute. Like, that guy must have been so excited when Wily hired Top Man.
Yeah.
He finally had somewhere to go, somewhere to belong.
He's like, oh, man, that's such a coincidence because that's my move.
Exactly. What a good fit. Or maybe he's really resentful of Top Man. He's like, well, why can't I run this place? I have a top.
He's not as strong. He's not as powerful as Top Man. So we're moving through. Those little magnet enemies are kind of a pain. You'll find them again in Sparkman stage and in other places. They will shoot through you and don't do any damage, but once they connect with each other, they basically come alive, as it were. And so it's not a good idea to rush through them. You want to kind of wait for them to be good to go.
I mean, from what I've seen of Mega Man 3, I think the stages are really cool. And I like we were saying, I think it's really interesting how all of them change. But what I really like is the castle. I think you've kind of teased it a couple times, but the castle in Mega Man 3 seems to be the most, at least so far, the most complicated and the most, ornate, I think. Yeah, and the journey of getting to the castle, I mean, just the way, I'm not going to spoil what happens after you beat the 8 Robot Masters, but we're not going straight to Wily's castle. And I think that's really the coolest curveball of Mega Man 3, I think. And I was really, really hoping that with Mega Man 9, and especially with 10, that they were going to do something like that again. But they've not ever done what they do in Mega Man 3 ever again. And it's disappointing. It's cool because it makes Mega Man 3 unique, but this move took me a long time to execute right there when I was a kid. I still don't never forget being able to do that. You just normally got hit by all the top.
Yeah, like you would just be like, oh, I'm gonna get hit here, but then there's a very specific way to get around that particular obstacle. So we're almost to Top Man state layer here. Top Man, like Hard Man and Magnet Man, Snake Man, easy to defeat with the Mega Buster, but the Hard Knuckle makes the job even easier. As you can see there.
Oh man, he didn't have a chance.
No. So Top Man's weapon is unique in that it's called the Top Spin, and it's not a weapon. It's something that it's an ability that Mega Man gets, where he uses his body as a weapon. And it's not something you see often in the series. You do something similar in Mega Man 5 with Charge Man's weapon. It's called the Charge Kick. So it's not a projectile, in other words, or a shield or anything like that. It's like you jump at an enemy and press the attack button and you spin and damage them.
The shields are always interesting to me. Like I find it interesting that in a game that's primarily about projectiles, there are occasional like defensive weapons.
For sure. For sure. So here's Shadow Man, I think another amazing design, kind of like a ninja robot. The huge ninja star on his head.
Another really cool stage. It's actually a little reminiscent of the waterfall that you see in Mega Man 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Bubble Man stage. Yep. Very good. Very good. So we're moving, we're going. Yeah, I enjoy this stage a lot. And we'll meet Proto Man again.
Oh, God, I love that whistling when he comes in. It's really cool. Whenever you wear your Proto Man shirt, you say there's at least one person who asks you if it's Beautiful Joe. Right?
Yeah. I guess they look similar. Just the face maybe a little bit, but not really. So this is a cool little thing. Those orbs on the top of the screen make it dark. You can actually attack them depending on the weapon you have, but there's no reason if you memorize the layout.
If you destroy them, does it just set the room to normal?
Yeah.
It's awesome that you just have the layout just completely memorized. You don't even stop.
Well, that's what happens when you're a huge nerd when you're a kid.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Those guys are so annoying, these little bouncy enemies, because you can't shoot them until they jump, but if you miss them, you might be in a little bit of trouble. So here you want to bait these parachute enemies out. As you'll see, you can jump at platforms and then back, and it'll bring them out so that they don't really pose any danger to you. And if you do that over and over again, it's a similar thing you do to the crabs at the end of Bubble Man stage in Mega Man 2. You'll do it with other enemies actually in this game. It's a smart thing to do, as opposed to rushing. There's no reason to rush. We're not speedrunning the game. This isn't a speedrun. Or we would just basically just be moving constantly.
That was a nice move sliding under him.
Yeah, you got to anticipate that particular enemy because he'll knock you back into the lava if you're not careful. So here you'll see a little bit of the top spin. It's a weapon that makes you sacrifice yourself. You could use it technically, I guess, without getting hit, but it's really hard to use without getting hit, so you kind of have to make a sacrifice. So you see how he's twirling himself.
Yeah, wow. You know, it's funny because like it almost just looks like you're bumping into him, but it's doing so much damage.
And that's Shadow Man down.
So now it's the last one already.
We get the Shadow Blade, which is a really useful weapon in Wily's Castle later on. It's somewhat Metal Blade-like, but it comes back to you. Doesn't have the range. You can't shoot as many as you can. It's definitely not as powerful by any stretch of the imagination. Sparkman's design is awesome. He's a huge spark plug, which is really cool.
Do you always do Sparkman last?
No. If I were to fight Magnet Man first, Needleman would actually go last. Sparkman's stage is definitely the hardest one, though. And again, an amazing design for a stage.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, those moving gears, that's really awesome. You really have to time those jumps carefully.
Yeah, those things are annoying.
Because in addition to jumping between those things, you can also hit that enemy and get knocked right back into it.
Yeah, you got to be careful here.
Now, you know, we talked a lot about recurring enemies. I haven't seen Sniper Joe, I believe his name is.
Yeah, so I think that these guys that are kind of tossing these like
kind of replace him.
Yeah, I think they are like a Joe type enemy.
Actually, I guess that is probably the precursor to the name Beautiful Joe.
Could be
from that line.
Could
the
be.
Long line of Joes.
He comes from a long, long line of Joes. He's their grandfather.
G.I. Joe is a distant cousin.
So we're moving. Another cool fall here. Several screens.
It's got to hurt his shins when he lands. Can't feel very good, I would imagine.
He just keeps going, though. He doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Doesn't stutter.
Those blocks are like the ones you picked up in, was that Mega Man 2?
Mega Man 1,
Mega Man 1.
Gutsman, yeah.
It's all blurring together.
Yep, that does for some people. Which is why we're going to go through each one of these. You and me together. So here's another place where you're going to have to bait enemies out. If you do this, and then jump over, jump to the right, jump back, you get the magnet here to come out. Then, because that guy will just knock you into oblivion.
Yeah, you really have to be careful to time, because I mean, and we've talked about this a couple times, that bounce back when you get hit is just brutal on these platforming sections.
Indeed, you don't want to get hit at all.
Because there's nowhere to fall. I mean, like, look how narrow those platforms were.
And we're basically home free. So we'll clip the Shadow Blades here. And we'll go fight Sparkman, who, again, has an interesting layout for his stage. So the Shadow Blade can be shot up, too. I don't think you're going to see it here, though. You'll see it in Wily's Castle.
I love those ninja stars.
Yeah, they're cool.
Are there any diagonal weapons like there were in Mega Man 2? They can shoot kind of in the 8 directions?
No. Shadow Blade can be shot, I guess, up, left, and right. And down, I guess. But no, the other ones just kind of come out. Snake Man's Surge Snakes will crawl along the ground and up ceilings.
Right.
Or up walls onto ceilings.
So now, of course, because we beat the 8 Robot Masters, we must be going to Wily's Castle.
Not so fast, Goldfarb. Not so fast. What we have here is, and excuse me, we did record these separately. This is basically a passion project for me, so I'm trying to find time here at work to record them. So I did beat I did do this section separately from the original section. We patched them together, so you don't get to see quite the stage select screen. But basically, what happens is 4 of the stages you don't go to again, but you go to 4 stages again, and you fight very specific enemies here. And as you can see, there are question marks instead of Robot Masters on the stage select screen when you select something, so you don't really know what you're getting yourself into the first time through.
It's funny how you were just on this stage, but it's already a little more complicated.
Yes, you assume that these are like different parts of the stage. They're also like kind of destroyed a little bit. You can see like they're kind of in disarray. Yeah, and these are much more complicated than they were before. Long slide. I get here. No, I don't. Nice. That's a tough one to do sometimes. So we're already at a boss stage here.
Yeah, these are definitely a little shorter than kind of the core levels were.
But there are 2 halves to them. And who is that but Metal Man from Mega Man 2?
He's back.
Going into this robot, who I believe they call Dark Man, who basically can mimic any of the Robot Masters. So as you can see here, he's using his metal blades. We use magnet missiles on him. He's no more. But then we go through the boss door on the right, and there's the second half of the stage. So I always loved that. I remember the first time that we saw that, I was like, that is so cool, because the Mega Man 2 Robot Masters are so iconic. To have them in Mega Man 3 makes Mega Man 3 even stronger.
Yeah.
And I think I'm cited on the Wikipedia page for Mega Man 3 as saying just that, by the way. So again, might as well be careful here.
Interesting that it kind of teases you because you don't get their abilities.
Yeah. You don't get the metal blades. You're not going to get any of their abilities. No room for them, really. No need for them.
Man, that's a brutal jump.
So we're going more of these magnet enemies, more of these electrical beams here.
What would you say at this point the storyline is? That the corrupted robots have kind of teamed up with the previous Robot Masters?
Yeah, I think you kind of have an idea of what's going on now. I think that the inkling between Mega Man and Dr. Light at this point is like we've seen these robots before, so Wily's clearly behind this plot. Although I'm sure Mega Man himself is not seeing those robots fall into the body of that Robot Master. If you look at art of that guy, he has like all of the Mega Buster like attachments on his back.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is really cool. And you can see some of them. So this is Quick Man, and we're going to use GEMINI lasers on him, which is unfortunate because they're so inaccurate. So you have to stay really close to him and kind of sacrifice your body because you don't want to let the GEMINI laser go. And I was actually I'm playing this on Wii's Virtual Console, and I was having some trouble there with the Wii mode for some reason, getting kind of stuck in the corner. Or that playthrough would have been a little bit better, I assure you. But nonetheless, that is Quick Man down. And now we are done with Sparkman's stage revisit. And you don't have to go into these stages in any order, by the way. So we'll go to Needleman next.
That is so mysterious. I just pictured little baby Colin Moriarty, like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, it was exciting. It was exciting. I wish I could, I was so hoping to have something like this in Mega Man 10. A throwback. Because Mega Man 9 was such a throwback to Mega Man 2, but really Mega Man 10 was a throwback to Mega Man 2 as well, and I was hoping that it would be a throwback to Mega Man 3, but it wasn't.
Maybe we'll get a Mega Man 11 someday.
That'd be sweet. Got a little overzealous there. Got to use the Rush Coil here to reach the ladder. If you haven't noticed, by the way, Rush Coil, you start with him, but you earn Rush Jet and Rush Marine as you go. And Rush Marine we don't really use in the game, except for... You can use him in Gemini Man stage, and we'll use him again later in the game, but he doesn't really have much of a purpose. So we'll use Rush Jet here. As you'll notice, Rush Jet is markedly different from Item 2 and Mega Man 2 in that he stays with you and you can go up and down with him if you want. So it's not just a straight line that you can't stop. So he's much more in control of Rush Jet in this game.
Yeah, it's nice that he kind of comes backwards with you, which allowed you to get that E-Tank.
So we're already at a stage door here. And we'll equip the Spark Shocks because we're about to fight Airman.
It's so interesting that these enemies, obviously, Airman, Metal Man had weaknesses in Mega Man 2, and now they're kind of realigned to new weaknesses for these new guns.
Yeah, and you had to figure it all out again. I mean, that was what was cool about this too. Is all right, well, I got through these 8 Robot Masters. I figured it out. Damn it! Now I have to figure out how to beat these other guys. The difference is that you have all the weapons at your disposal. You just have to figure out how to use them.
Right.
So Airman's tough to fight here, and we'll use an E-Tank just to keep ourselves alive so we don't make the playthrough any longer than we have to. If I was just playing for fun, I would probably just commit suicide at this point to the right and then just start again from that door, but let's not make the playthrough any longer than it has to be.
Interesting that you had 6 E-Tanks there. Is there an upper limit in Mega Man 3?
You can have up to 9 here in this game, which is interesting why there's a double digit. I don't know. So Rush Jet, we have to use him here. And you have to be careful with him. If you go along the top of the screen, you can get those guys to come out and not even worry about them. And you're going to want to have to get the weapon capsules to kind of keep yourself afloat. Now, the thing that's tough here, and that gets a lot of newbies in Mega Man 3, is that you don't want to grab all these weapon capsules just because they're there. If you don't need them, leave them, because if you die, you'll go back to the beginning, and everything you got will not be there anymore. So if you went and just kind of wantonly got them all, then you're going to be shit out of luck, basically.
Yeah.
So here I'm abandoning Rush Jet, but then going back to him just so I can get this. Keep myself going.
It's a dangerous slide because you could just slide right out if you're not careful.
And then here we are, the ladder. We'll stick with Rush Jet, though. We'll refill it a little bit, jump to the next platform, and then use him just to kind of get up to the ladder. You could use Rush Coil there as well. We'll let this guy kill himself.
She wasn't feeling it today.
And then this giant Met. Now, you want to hit this guy in the cross on his helmet as quickly as possible. If you let him kind of exist, he'll start shooting Mets at you, start shooting some plasma balls at you and stuff. So it's better not to let him live if you can help it. Prolonging his life will just prolong your agony, Goldfarb.
Never good. Interesting seeing like those kind of hanging ropes in the background have kind of been redone from the daytime version you saw earlier. These levels just feel so intricate, it feels like so much love went into crafting these. Like they're so, just the stuff going on in the background has to do with what you're doing. It tells a story and, talks about like the, the theme of the Robot Master for that level. It's just so creative.
I agree. I think that's why the game's so special. I think, like I said, you have to deal with limited storytelling tools in a game like this, and I think that the Mega Man 3 portrays its story beautifully. And it's really before Mega Man, kind of became farcical in terms of its plot. I think that this game had a thoughtful plot. I think Mega Man 4 has a good plot, too. So we'll use Hard Knuckles here on Crash Man.
Hard Knuckle is interesting because it's very powerful, but it seems very slow moving.
It's slow, and yeah, it's cumbersome. That's why you kind of have to sacrifice yourself, get up close to Crash Man there, make sure you don't miss. It's very similar to how you fight Top Man. So Needle Man's done, and we'll go back to Gemini Man stage.
Man, it's just so crazy that this is basically any given stage in this game already is about twice as long as the stage from Mega Man 2, but then you're also fighting 16 instead of 8 masters, even before the castle.
Yeah, and that's why the game, I really think Mega Man 3 is the the longest game in the series in terms of the core 6 games on NES.
How fast would you say like a really good speed run of this game is?
I don't know. You could probably do it not including the intro and the menus, or the ending rather, and kind of just getting through, I don't know, 40 minutes maybe.
And how does that compare to like a Mega Man 2 or Mega Man 1?
Mega Man 2 is easy to beat in half an hour, I would say. The time's a little loose. I'm not really positive anymore.
Sure.
But Mega Man 3 is definitely longer. I mean, once you get to Wily's Castle, it's a straight shot. I mean, if you know what you're doing, it's not that hard at all. But this is the time-consuming area. You can't really rush too crazy here. There's just too many pits, too many enemies, too many hazards. And remember, we don't have, we're playing on Wii. We're not playing even on PS. When you played Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10 for speedruns and you had the online leaderboards, the game would save after every Robot Master, so you could master it going, you can master the game and shave seconds off without any problem. But, playing on the NES is a different story because if you mess up, it's over. Like your time's going to be all screwed up. You have to start the whole game again.
Yeah.
It's just a different story. It's just a much more hardcore proposition. So we're back here, on Gemini Man stage fighting these little orbs with the little, like, tadpoles coming out of them.
Yeah, I always find the kind of organic-looking robots in these levels to be really interesting.
And we're already at where we need to be here. We'll equip the needle cannon. And we'll fight Flashman. And unlike our Mega Man 2 playthrough, Goldfarb, you actually see what Flashman can do. So you see he stopped time there and you couldn't move and then he shoots at you. And will stay on top of you to damage you with his body, but we make quick work of him.
Kind of a precursor to the Matrix. I believe they cite Mega Man 3 as an inspiration.
Indeed. Well, you have to use the Rush Coil Hit to get up, or you can use the Rush Jet. That's technically a spot, though, where you can get stuck in the game, which is interesting.
Why?
Because if you somehow use all your Rush Jet and Rush Coil energy, there's no way you can proceed from there.
What do you do at that point?
You'd have to restart.
Oh, wow.
Use a password. So here we use the Rush Marine. It's a lot of slowdown here because of Rush's motor animation, the guys dropping things above you, the fish swimming in from the right is a lot of slowdown.
Yeah, even the water itself is moving. It's cool seeing you use the buoyancy of the water again to jump up to that ladder.
And basically the water being all over this part of the stage is really indicating who you're going to fight next.
Right.
Which is cool. Because there are no underwater enemies in this game.
Yeah, and again, it's just cool that you were on this stage and now it's kind of been realigned to be a new Robot Masters area. It's just really cool.
Yeah, it's very clever. Would have loved to have been in those planning meetings.
Yeah, for
sure. Japan in the late 80s when they were making this.
Someone was like, what if we brought back the old date? And everyone was, my God.
Yeah, they were probably stoked about it. So here's Bubble Man. Again, with the spikes atop his lair, so you got to really be careful about how you're jumping. And he is no more.
Awesome. It's amazing how close you cut it sometimes. I mean, you really didn't have that.
I do. I am cutting it close. I'm not playing very well.
No. I mean that kind of in a good way, though. I mean, I think you're still, even though you're getting hit, you're able to anticipate exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, I just play that way. Unless I'm trying to play, like we talked about, arm cannon dueling, talking about playing the game without getting hit, all the different ways you can play Mega Man. When I'm playing Mega Man for fun, I play it where, I'm getting hit, but I'm living. I'm not dying at all,
Right.
And it's just about judging that, about, saving all of your energy for the Robot Master fights because you're going to need it, but not really getting hit too much in the course of battle on the stages themselves. So the final of the 4 revisit stages is here is Shadow Man. And by the way, props to you, Goldfarb, if you can tell me who we haven't fought yet for Mega Man 2.
Oh my God. So we got Bubble Man, we got Airman. Trying to run through the list. I don't think I'm gonna remember.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if it comes.
We got
to you.
Metal.
These are precarious jumps, by the way. This is one of the
Yeah,
hardest
I can
jumping
tell.
sequences in the game.
I think I'm gonna not answer this quiz correctly, which makes me sad.
They are the Robot Masters in the middle on the side of the stage select screen of Mega Man 2.
Are the robots you're fighting actually corresponding to their placement on the original grid?
Maybe, but I don't know for sure. Well, there's Woodman
Oh, that's right.
with his giant wooden body. And we'll use Needle Cannon on him. Yeah, I didn't time that well. And Woodman is no more. Which leaves only one more, and I'll see if you can figure that one out.
Oh my god. Now I'm embarrassed. I can't remember.
It's nothing to be embarrassed about. If you don't know, you don't know. It's okay. I'll give you a hint, though. Much like Sparkman is modeled after a spark plug, this particular Robot Master is modeled after something as well. And there are many signs in the stage about who you're going to fight.
Now I'm looking more carefully. I don't know. I should know because we just did this very recently, but drawn a blank.
Yeah, again, by the way, just in case you haven't been listening or been fast-forwarding around or whatever, Mega Man 1 and Mega Man 2 full commentary playthroughs are already on IGN and YouTube, IGN's YouTube, so you can watch those at your leisure, and we'll do 4, 5, and 6 as well, and then we're going to go from there, probably do some Mega Man X games as well, maybe even keep going with 7 and 8, we'll see what happens. But you'll definitely have, if I have anything to do with it, Mega Man 1 through 6 and Mega Man X through X3 at some point.
I don't know, I failed you, Colin.
Shadow Man's weapon, the Shadow Blade, and we have Heat Man, the Zippo lighter. The lava flows and the things underneath the stage were my signs that you were going to fight him. So again, not a very elegant play there, but we hit him. Once you can get him in his little system, he's pretty formulaic, just as he was in Mega Man 2. Jump, hit, run away, wait for him to come at you, jump
again.
again.
He still does that little flame burst, before he moves.
And then he's no more. So now, this is when things get a little more interesting. Go for it.
Sure. I think they're pretty interesting already. Okay. Mega Man's having a tough day.
Yeah, he is, but he's whooping ass.
Hope he had breakfast. It's been a longer day than he was
So there's
expecting.
Breakman, as we know him right now. We'll fight him again. This little shield, plasma cannon, and weapon.
Interesting. He has no, health bar showing, so it's like you don't even know how much damage you're doing.
So here we are with Dr. Light in his lab. They spell Wily with an E here. That's not canon. But there's Dr. Wily again in his UFO. His lair in the background. His signature move here. UFO's a little different this time around. It's got his logo on it.
Interesting. This is the first kind of cutscene of the game, as it were. Oh yeah, there it is.
Now, in my opinion, this is the best song in Mega Man history, but some people don't. A lot of people don't agree.
See, that top guy got some new work. I see. Now the top man's been defeated. I had to find somewhere else to go. Yeah, this song is great.
So we'll jump across, get the E-Tank, then jump down. Back in the water. Some penguin enemies here. Wily's got a thing with penguins this time. I don't know why. Couldn't tell you.
Because he has a cold heart, so he's Arctic enemies.
That's good. That's good. That could be it. So those green barriers, you'll never see me, I don't think, destroy them in this playthrough, but those green barriers can be destroyed with hard knuckles, and then you can get the weapons or the items behind them if you want. But we're not going to waste time. We don't need them.
And I mean, we've talked before. I think that's one of the coolest things about these different elements, different weapons that you get are the environmental traversal stuff, that you can actually use them to break down barriers and find kind of secrets.
It is very cool. So we're moving, we're going. We'll use Rush Jet here to kill this guy. Could also use Rush Coil, jump up and hit him a few times, a few things at a time. There's no reason to do that. Very good. Some more disappearing blocks. It's an easy puzzle, though. Wait for this one to appear. Slide, jump. We're out.
Nicely
and
done.
we're already in the next stage. But, because we're in Wily's Castle now, our weapon energy doesn't refill, so we need to be mindful of that. And to do that, we'll constantly be refilling it when needed, of course. So we have basically full energy here now. And we're going to go fight an enemy that I think is similar to an enemy you fight in Mega Man 2's castle. When you fight those turtle kind of, or those robots that come together and then fly at you. I think this is kind of similar. These tornadoes don't damage you, but they're designed to run you into the enemies. If you don't kill the turtles quick enough, then their shells come off and they become bombs that you have to destroy. So the Shadow Blade kills them in one hit.
Yeah, and there's the Shadow Blade being shot up like you were talking about earlier. Now, I know you mentioned, I believe it was Mega Man 1, you talked about, what was it, like that rock monster that comes together? Does he make another appearance?
He does make an appearance. I think that there's a few callbacks to the original Mega Man and Wily's Castle that we've yet to see. And one of them is the rock monster. But there's another one, too, that I think you'll recognize.
It's cool seeing the return of that, like overworld map for Wily's Castle, too. Yeah, I mean, Mega Man 2 really did dictate a lot of elements that just stay in Mega Man.
Definitely. Absolutely. So we're climbing up. Some more of those like annoying platform things from Hardman stage, but we keep going. This part gets a little hairy. Here's where I mess up. Yeah, like the bees all show up because I didn't go off the screen quick enough. But we're going to keep going. We can get rid of that guy, though. We learned from our lessons, Gold Farm. It's good. We keep jumping. We keep moving. Now, here we're going to need to use the Rush Jet. And much like we used it on Needleman's Revisit stage, we're going to have to be a little judicious with things here. Not using things we don't need, just in case you die. It's kind of, I don't feel like I'm going to die when I'm playing these games, but it's just old habits die hard when you're a kid.
Yeah, you just, any limited resource, you make sure that you have as much as possible.
Notice how close those E-tanks are together.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll leave all these things around. We might need them later. And then we're already the boss again. So speaking of the rock monster, here he is. We get to the right of the screen as quickly as possible. I'll let him come in.
A little more high-tech, the pieces of him, than they were in Mega Man 1.
So his weakness is the hard knuckle and the eyeball, but I miss him there completely. But now he's easier to avoid when he does this particular move because you can see the blocks that are moving next. So there's really no worry there. He does split up in a different way, though. Sometimes that's really much harder to avoid.
It's amazing how long they make you wait each time,
So here, him splitting up here, the hitboxes are just huge on those blocks, so they're hard to avoid. But him coming together like that gives you more time to hit him. So we're looking good.
It's funny how, we were talking earlier about the hard knuckle being slow. You really have to time it carefully here to make sure you hit him when his eyes open without a block in the way. Yeah,
you almost got to fire it off before his eye opens to make sure you get him at least twice, as we'll do here.
Nicely done.
Just one more. Use an E-tank just in case.
You have so many, you might as well.
I know. There's no reason not to. And then we're good to go. And that's another enemy down. So we continue to traverse Goldfarb, Wily's devious castle here in Mega Man 3.
It's getting close. And again, even Wily's castle is so much longer. Multiple parts.
We'll break out the Shadow Blade here to get rid of this guy, no problem. Then we'll go to the Rush Coil to jump up. We have two options here. We'll go to the right and take the right ladder.
It's always nerve-wracking when there's kind of a fork in the road like that, because you can really miss out on, helpful items. I mean, here it lets you cross over, but still.
Yeah, and you can always backtrack if you wanted to, but yeah, you kind of just, this comes through memorization. We'll get the E-tank. We don't really need it, but why not? It's right there. They are very generous with the E-tanks in this game. And one of the ways to make the game harder is just not collect. So here we have another one of these sections.
Yeah, more of those orbs.
Because those green enemies explode when you kill them, if you're getting too close to them, it's better to just jump over them. So there's an orb where we could have struck it and not had nighttime, but, whatever. Massive slowdown because of the orbs on the bottom. We're going. Another one of these guys. Not a lot of room to work. Got to make quick work of them. And another one here with even less room.
It's funny, you don't have to worry, there were those jumping enemies in Mega Man 1 that you had to get under. You have to worry less about these guys. Just get them as they're vulnerable.
For sure. This, easier than it looks. Still a little hairy when you first get here, though, and you're, horrified. So we'll actually go up here, Rush Coil, use the hard knuckle on that barrier because we'll just see what's in these question mark containers here. So we'll go back to the plot. So I told you that there was another throwback, and here it is. Wily's again clone Mega Man, but this time there are 3 of them, and you need to figure out which one is the real one.
Oh, man.
by who gets hit. So we're not doing well here in the beginning.
Are they still doing everything you do? Like, will they mimic the
No,
weapon
no,
you
no,
use?
no. Some people like to use the search snakes here. I think that's kind of a cumbersome weapon to use, so I choose not to use them. But once you find the guy, you can really pound them, as you see here. It's all luck, basically. Luck of the draw, where you are and what you're going to get. And that enemy's defeated. And we're moving on.
It's cool that they do it vertically this time, so you feel like you're really like ascending the tower.
So again, we'll use this to our advantage to kind of, fill up what the weapons we'll need. We won't really need Rush Coil again, but we will need Rush Jet. So it's good to keep that filled up. Now here's a Gutsman-like enemy that's always hard to avoid because of the kickback on the items he throws. But see an E-Tank out of that question mark, so that's pretty lucky. That's pretty fortuitous.
Yeah,
wow. The question marks are in a way foreshadowing of another character that's introduced in Mega Man 4 named Flip Top, Eddie. And he gives you items when you find him, so that's kind of a foreshadow to that, I think.
Yeah, those blocks are brutal.
Yeah, they're just really hard to avoid.
For like a minor enemy, those give a lot of damage, actually.
I like how the pipes are actually in the foreground.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And here we are at our famous teleportation room, where we will do battle with the Robot Masters once again, starting with Needleman. So we'll equip the Gemini laser again. Strike him like that.
Nicely done with the ricochet.
Thank you. See, I have this one here that I have to deal with, but it runs right into him.
Oh, man.
But I'm over the thing, so I'm over the thing when he dies, so I can't even get the weapon capsule he drops. But no matter. Magnet Man now is much easier with the Spark Shock that we didn't have when we fought him the first time, as you can see there.
And he's invulnerable, I'm guessing, while he's doing that.
Right. You can't fight him.
Or can you even shoot anyway while you're
You
being
can,
sucked
but
in?
he blocks it.
Yeah.
So that's the end of him.
God. You really do make it seem so effortless. I mean, it's funny because, like, the little bit of Mega Man 3 I played as a kid, there's no way I even beat more than one or two of the Robot Masters. I was just so bad at these games. They really do. I mean, like you always say, it just kind of takes practice and training. You know, you need to play over and over and memorize the order, memorize the movement of enemies, and just there's a lot to know about Mega Man games.
Definitely, and I think that people overthink Mega Man a little bit too. Especially in the Robot Master fights, like it's just a trade of blows. If you know the weapon to use, it doesn't really matter if you get hit as long as you're doing more damage. I mean, that's all that matters. You know?
Yeah.
If you can stay ahead, like I'm always looking to see like where our damage is, and I'm like, if I'm ahead, I'm good. If I'm not, I gotta take some evasive actions, but I'm fine. You know?
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. If you're fighting with your arm cannon, it's a different story, of course.
Especially post Mega Man 2 when you're getting these energy capsules after each boss, that helps so much.
So Hard Knuckles there again. Jump. Boom, boom, boom. Now the game froze here on me, which I never saw before, and I was like getting really nervous, but it went back. Shadow Man.
That might even just be an emulation thing.
It could be, yeah, because we are playing on Virtual Console, so I guess this is, technically not the original card; it's a ROM, right? But yeah, where it worked fine. I did meet a few glitches in Mega Man 2 though when I bought it on Wii. That frustrated me when I was capturing for that particular commentary. Sparkman, we'll go back to Shadow Blades.
God, not a prayer.
And finally, we'll work our way up. Go to Snake Man. And we have the needle cannon here to make short work of him. As you remember, it was a little bit more of a war of attrition when we fought him first at the very beginning of the game. So that's the end of that. Now we can go through the door on the right. We'll have some chances here to refill things. And I know the weapons that we're going to need to fight the enemies coming up. So I'm kind of looking. I know we're going to need Hard Knuckles, for instance. We're going to need the top spin. So we might as well fill up things that we need.
They are very forgiving with making sure you have, refills here.
So the culmination here, or the beginning of the culmination, I should say, more chances to fill things up.
And I like how ominous the music is here as soon as you come in. It's funny because, you know, looking at Wily, he does the silly eyebrow thing and he can be a little goofy, but like they make him a very, you know, serious figure. They make him like it is scary to face him. You know, his battle is hard.
For sure. So the first phase of Wily is a ground-based robot, and we'll need the Spark Shock to use it, but you need to fire it directly at the turret underneath him, which appears now. And with the Spark Shock, you make quick work of him. Now, you have some options here about how you're going to fight and what you're going to do, but I like to use the Rush Jet. And here's what I do with the Rush Jet. I just go up. Since he's vulnerable in his cockpit. See, usually if you were fighting him from the ground, you'd have to wait till he goes down, then stay in the middle of him, kind of get around him. Up here, you just stay in the air. You fire at the cockpit as long as you have Rush Jet energy necessary to do it. He's easy to go. It looks like it's the end of the game. Wily will appear and beg for your mercy. But it isn't Wily at all.
My God. This game really does add in the twists.
So you have all of these opportunities here to get another E-Tank, fill up your energy, blah, blah, blah. We don't really need to do anything because I know specifically what we need here. There's two weapons we need here. The Shadow Blade and the Top Spin. We have as much energy as we need on both of those, so we'll equip the Shadow Blades first. And here we're going to fight Gamma. This was the robot that Light and Wily were using together, building together, that's been corrupted by Wily. So we jump up, we just avoid his attacks by staying in the middle. When he loses half his health, Wily appears. Now, we're going to use the Top Spin to fight Wily. We can use the Rush Coil as I try to use here to get up, or we can just wait for this thing to come over, and that will give us the leverage we need. But I use the Rush Coil there. Then we equip the Top Spin, and we have to jump at Wily very carefully. Use it. Boom. Done. Wily, that's the real Wily, is begging for forgiveness again.
I assume there would be a couple rounds of that if you were using like the Buster or any other weapon.
Yes. These blocks are now appearing as the fort crumbles. Wily and Mega Man are both crushed. Proto Man comes and saves Mega Man and leaves with him. Wily is presumably dead.
It's awesome hearing the Proto Man theme in the background.
So this is the first time he's really revealed as being Proto Man. Someone Light is very familiar with since he helped build him. And here it kind of puts everything together as you see all the original robots from the first game. With their use, their original use before they were corrupted.
Interesting how it is kind of serialized, you know, it does sort of form an arc at this point. I think it's cool that they at least tried that.
I agree. There's a throwback here. Made people eager probably to play the original. There's Roll, who we haven't seen since the very first game. The ending of the very first game. There's Mega Man. There's Proto Man.
Brother of Mega Man, who didn't exist yet at the time.
He was built first. We just didn't really know about him. Hence prototype Proto Man.
No, but I'm saying his card saying brother.
I see. That's true. That's true. So then we see again, in case you didn't watch the other, well, especially Mega Man 2's ending on our commentary, the names here underneath each of the Robot Masters are the designers of those robots, and they have a contest for every Mega Man game where they ask people to submit their designs. So these people don't work for Capcom. These are just game players from Japan that came up with these designs, which I always think is very, very cool.
And you said some of the later games actually have some American names in there, too.
Yeah, Mega Man 6 has one Canadian Robot Master and one American Robot Master. When we get to that game, I'll point them out to you.
I love the little shock of electricity when he raises his hands. So, again, it's just so much cool little character motions and just cool animation ideas they do. Right down to even the begging of, instead of Inafune, NF King again.
Yep, all their pen names, basically.
Does Fishman reappear?
don't think he does. This was the standard, again, in case, again, you didn't watch Mega Man 2's commentary. It was standard at that point to use pen names so that people wouldn't be poached, and that kind of starts to change after Mega Man 3, or around the time Mega Man 3 was made.
Music's so great here again. God, I just want to buy these soundtracks and just listen to them all the time.
Again, a very small team made this game. Credits today take like forever,
Yeah.
but not Mega Man 3's. So Goldfarb, that is the end of the game. I hope you had fun.
I did.
I did. Thank you out there for watching. We'll keep going with these commentaries. Be sure to keep it tuned for IGN, or to IGN for all your Mega Man coverage. Beyond.
Beyond.